Hi, this is Joe at Domain Academy, and welcome back to another Domain Academy podcast. This is an exciting one where we check in on our contest and see who's in the lead, which is a big surprise. Mike Cyger has jumped out to a big lead, and we're 2/3 into the contest, and I'm wondering if anyone can catch him. So we're going to go through today everyone's strategy, see if things have changed at all, and then we're going to talk through how we can help each other get over the $500 hump that we initially invested to make sure everybody's profitable by the end of the contest in the next 4 months. So without further ado, let's jump into the leaderboard. I'm going to share my screen real quick and show everybody.
You don't need to show anyone that.
Well, we might as well, as long as we're here.
That's right. All right. So we could see Mike is at almost $4,300 and Andrew's second. He's not doing so bad with 12 sales. 870s. He's knocking on the door of 1,000. Then it's me, very far behind and barely beating James by a few dollars at 335. James is at 331. We both got 4 sales. I think it has to do with commission. And then Deepak, 1 sale. Deepak is going to have to pick it up. And Piyush is still sitting at the bottom. So we're going to have to see what we can do to help Piyush bring up his sales and get up to that $500 level. So Mike, I'm just going to quickly show everybody that you're going to follow along. If you're not, we put this link into all of the podcast comments, and you can click on the link and come to the sheet and find out, who's buying what and what they're buying it for and what they're selling it for. So this is a really good place to get an education on what's working and what's not. So I want to know if Mike can go through his strategy again, because he seems to be doing the best. And you can see that almost every single name that he buys, he actually sells, which is extremely impressive, right? There's only a couple that you could see that don't have a sale. I mean, look at that. So you could contrast that with me, who has a lot of buys and only a few sales. And you can see that Mike's strategy is definitely working. Mike, congratulations on leading things so far. And if you could just give us an update on what you've been doing since we talked last, why you think it's working, and what advice you could give people.
You bet. So I've been trying to stick to the strategy of 2words.com in the 10 to 15 character range that I can try and buy in either GoDaddy closeouts or GoDaddy auctions at a low range, and then focused on outbound wholesale selling. So if I can pick something up for $1 in auction, $6 in auction, up to $20 in auction, plus the renewal fee, and then flip it for $99 to $199, somewhere in there, depending on how good of a deal I find. I'm taking quick cash, putting it back into the piggy bank, and then moving on. So it's churn and burn, which is something I don't ever do in my normal investing, but that's what I've been focused on here. If you go to my spreadsheet and you look at how did you get the sale / find the buyer, you can see I've tried a whole bunch of different things. At the beginning, back in May, I was doing name pros, primarily listing it for sale with a description and then promoting it via X. And then I moved from name pros sort of in the September time period. I tried out my newsletter, which is cygersays.com, where I summarize what I've been working on for the week. It's sort of the way that I keep track of what I've been doing and my thoughts on what I've been working on, whether it's investing, buying domain names, building domain names, or selling domain names. And lately I've been giving people who are investors, primarily who are subscribed to my newsletter list, first choice of the domain names. It's sort of a thank you for being on the newsletter. You get to see what domain names I bought first and have the first right to purchase them. And that's been going well as well. And it's a little bit easier for me because I can just put it as the introduction for the newsletter. And so I've sold a few that way. Yeah, that's pretty much my go-to. Every once in a while, I will pay a little bit more for a domain name like elevatefund.com. I thought was a financial related one that I really liked. So I bought that one for $415, sold it for $888. I just tried to reproduce that again. I picked up effortcapital.com. And if anybody's following, I put out a tweet back in September that, it's not a coincidence that .capital, .finance, .loan, .loans, .fund, .money are all popular TLDs, or at least TLDs that came out in the last round, because those are all popular second words of two-word.com domain names, with capital being one of the most popular. And I really liked the effort because, you know, when venture capital puts money into a company, you're not just taking the money. You want smart money, not dumb money. And it's that extra effort that venture capitalists can put into your company to make connections, give you relationships, give you advice that goes a long way. And so I thought Effort Capital was a fantastic brand. One of the things that I like to do when I'm looking at certain domain names is go see what Huge Domains is, how many domains they have in their portfolio and how they're pricing them. And they really like their capital domain names. So somethingcapital.com, with opulentcapital.com being their highest priced domain name at just shy of $80,000. And they're right around, you know, a bunch of them are priced in the 20 to 30,000 range. And I thought Effort Capital was better. So I priced it at 50,000, and I didn't offer this one to anybody yet because I want to see if anybody's going to come in and make an offer or try and buy it. On the really good ones like this, I want to put it in my portfolio and let it marinate for a couple of months and see what kind of interest it gets first. Because I might be able to, like a lot of us hope, might be able to get a retail sale within the first few months as people have wanted it, go and check it every once in a while, and maybe pull the trigger in the new year.
Can you talk a little bit about your lander setup for that one? So I've just gone to Effort Capital. Looks like the custom lander. You've got three options and a bin price of 50,000. So how did you arrive at that valuation?
Yeah. So again, two-word capital, second word.com. I think it doesn't have a ton of extensions taken. I think 5 extensions total, according to .db.com. And 7 total, so longer range, so Effort Capital or something Effort Capital or Effort something Capital. So not a ton of use, but in this case, what I will do is use hugedomains.com as a proxy and look at how they're pricing, how many domains and how they're pricing it. And I thought that this one should be about a $50,000 domain name based on the market size of the venture capital area. I like leases to own. This is the kind of, any domain that I feel like I wouldn't mind somebody canceling a lease to own and me getting it back in my portfolio. I will put lease to own on it. And if they make one payment, it pays for itself 2 times. And if they pay for a full year, it covers the cost handsomely. But I love it if they've made all the payments except for one and I got it back because they went out of business. I'm not hoping that they go out of business, but like I would love to get the domain name back. So I don't mind that. And I do put a make offer in there as well, because if somebody's like, well, I can't pay 50, but I'd pay 30. I'm willing to have a conversation with them. So that's my thinking around that.
So close to the top of Huge Domains, 80,000 price for their top ones. You've got it on 60-month lease to own, which I assume for the purposes of this contest, you would just allocate the remaining, whatever it is, 5-6 months so that we've got left for that.
1 month left to go in this contest, and they pay me 1,000, and 1,000 goes into the win column according to the contest.
Cool. I'm looking forward to following this one. Yeah, I've just done a research snapshot on Domain Academy tools. Yeah, it doesn't look like a huge amount of like traditional comps for it, like you say, but you have those other sources for comparisons as well, which is valuable to have. Yeah.
As investors, we just need to look at all of the data out there and then look at some comparables, talk to friends and, you know, colleagues in the industry, and then just use our gut. I may come back in a year and say, wow, that was underpriced and I'm going to raise the price. Or I may look at it and say, what was I thinking asking 50? It should have been like 20. I don't know why Huge Domains is pricing theirs so high, but I tend to defer to the Reberry brothers. They've been doing this a while. They tend to know what they're doing.
Yeah, Huge Domains has some good data for sure.
Yeah, I think those are great names. It's definitely a strategy that's working. I mean, I think it's for anyone who's new or even people that have been investors for a long time to be able to get this level of insight, you know, and follow along with everything buys and sells and your thought process is really valuable. So thanks for sharing that.
You bet. As a point, you said Mike has mostly sold all of them. There are 2 that I haven't sold that I'm trying to do outbound on. And it is like pulling teeth for me to try and do outbound. I thought I'd give it another shot. I tried to do VegasBankruptcyLawyers.com. Didn't get any traction on that. I saw snowplow.us. And as we head into the snow season, I thought snowplow us on the side of a car might be interesting. I haven't made an earnest effort, but I may try that again as we head into the wee hours of December where there's less work being done. I might reach out to a few companies about that.
That's a good idea. It's
Pick that one up for
definitely
$1, I think, in an auction.
Mike,
Yeah.
that's even straying into the brandable territory. Like I just Googled it, and Snowplow.io is a company offering data infrastructure. So there's other uses for it that could materialize down the line.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I saw you're picking up a bunch of names at $1. It's a good strategy.
Yeah. Joe was talking about that on his masterclass just recently, and he's got me excited about that. I'm starting to look more because I've always been under the impression if you bid $1, someone else is going to come in and bid a lot. But Joe has some data showing that's not the case. Always. I mean, obviously it happens sometimes, but I'm going to give that more of a shot because I usually focus on closeouts. So.
Yeah, I think.
But Andrew, most of the time, I'm sure Mike can share more data on that. But the moment you put in $1 bid at most of these auctions, there are a lot of big guys who run automated scripts and
You were not at the
I-
master class last week, though, Deepak. Joe shared, well, he shared kind of some, I agree with you, right? And that's always been my opinion. But I think that, Joe, maybe you can elaborate on this. It's not always, there's actually a significant amount of cases where that's not the case, as evidenced by, I think, Mike's results here.
There's a lot of names that we sell for $1. So if you're going to wait for it to go to closeouts, you might not get it at closeouts. Somebody might pick it up at closeouts anyway. So you might as well take the shot at $1 and see if you get it or not.
Mike, you have 13 that you've gotten at $1.
Great end of summer, like August, September, where I was able to pick up a whole bunch of $1. And it's funny, I'll give a shout out to Josh Reason, who I think mentioned it on one of his podcasts. It's like the dollar is where you should be looking. And I was like you, Andrew, I was looking at the closeouts, waiting for stuff, looking at 50, waiting for 40, 30, and then trying to get it at 5, being disappointed half the time because I should have paid 11 instead. And then I started focusing on the GoDaddy dollars and getting a whole bunch of good domain names, not great domain names. You can look at them, they're good, except for that Fresh Vision. That was a great one until I realized it was a typo. And then I had to refund the buyer. Lately, it's been a dearth. I haven't been able to like get any of those dollars. And I can't tell if it's like people have started to find them. I'm still bidding the same. I wait until I'm in that 5-minute period, last 5-minute period. Then I put in a bid, which bumps it up to 5 or 6 or something. And then I try to get lucky. I don't know. It's been hard lately to try and find those $1 ones.
All right. Well, I think it's definitely a strategy worth looking at, and it seems to work. I mean, most of the names you got, you said they're good, but you sold them, so they're good enough to sell.
Yeah.
Andrew, you're in second place, and your strategy seems to be working pretty good. You're over the $500 level already, and I know you changed a couple things up because going into NamesCon. Before that, you were a little lower. So what have you done? For the last
well, at NamesCon, so I don't know how many people have been to a lot of domain conferences, but back in the day, there used to be people running around with like a sheet of their domains for sale, and they'd be like, "You want to buy any of these domains? You want to buy any of these domains?" It was pretty annoying. So I was that guy at NamesCon 2025. I only went up to a few people because I just felt dirty doing it, but I've got a funny story there. But one of the people bought a couple of the names, so that was nice. And then I went up to one person who is a very successful domain investor now, has a huge portfolio. I won't name his name, but very successful. And I was like, yeah, I feel kind of, dirty doing this. I hate to annoy you, but, you interested in any of these names? And he said, oh, I used to do that. In fact, I, sold a name for $40,000 or $50,000 doing that. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that, it makes sense. You never get to sell a name if you don't ask, right? But I sold a couple that way. And then I was out to eat with Mike a week or two ago, and I said, look out, Mike, because I'm hoping that an end user comes by and buys one of these names. And it's pretty rare that happens within 12 months. I was just looking. So I have just outside of Domain Academy, just on my regular portfolio, I have 39 sales so far this year with a couple weeks to go. And only 2 of them were bought in 2024, none this year. Oh, sorry, 3 in 2024. Not 100% sure. It could be over 12 months. So obviously at this point, right? Some of these, when I sold them, it could have been 18 or more, but it's rare that happens. I had this collecttechnologies.com that I have it on a custom lander with a buy now and make offer. I think the buy now is like $29.99, and the minimum offer I have set on there is like $1,000. And someone put in that minimum offer, of course, then which went to Afternic brokers to try to close. And as happens, a lot of times someone makes an offer and then they go cold, right? So unfortunately, This one is now in my buyer has become unresponsive category in Afternic, so it didn't get that sale. But I was hoping that would happen just because I really like some of the names I've acquired through this contest, and I know eventually they will sell for $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 in
Right.
kind of my sweet spot. So I hate to sell them all at $99, but I'll probably end up doing some more of that because I certainly want to get over $1,000 by the time we close out this contest, if not more.
So you also, I saw, we're putting names for sale on the app. You have an app that you launched?
I did. Yeah. So I put a few there. Whenever we do these calls, it gets me reinvigorated to do more sales just because I hate that grin on Mike's face throughout the whole thing. But so I've got a domain name wire app, and in there I do kind of a weekly expired domain suggestions across, GoDaddy and other expired domain platforms. And so occasionally I've mentioned, hey, I've got these names for sale through that are part of this contest. Haven't sold any through that. I've only done that once or twice. And, the app is fairly new, so I don't know how many people are looking at those expired lists. But I was just thinking I'm getting ready to send out my mid-month newsletter for Domain Name Wire. Mike's obviously had a lot of success with his newsletter, selling names through there. So maybe I'll try that again as well.
I think you'd probably do better if you bought my expiredexpert.com that I've got for the contest for $100. Then you'd have a lot more credibility.
Yeah, I get so much traffic there,
exactly.
and I'd sell even more.
Yeah, so I think what you're doing is definitely working. I mean, you really, in the last month or so, have jumped up a lot. So I was thinking maybe I can catch you easy, but I don't know. We'll see what can happen. So I'm in third. I'm going to go next. I got firsthand knowledge of two things. So I'm going to say I came into this a little bit cocky, I found out, right? Like I didn't realize I was, but I thought, I tell people stick with your niche, do what you're comfortable with that already, right? And I'm like, I know domains and I have no idea about real estate. So I pick up all these real estate names, right? And realtors don't want to buy any names. So I went out of my normal things I know and thought, well, I can sell a name to anyone. I can sell ice to an Eskimo, right? So I'm going to get these names and build a little thing around it. And it hasn't been easy. Doing the outbound has been a pain. And talking to realtors, they don't want to spend money for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. It doesn't make sense to me. I have Valley Home Team, and there's a ton of companies that are real estate agencies in the valley where I live, right? We have the East Valley and the West Valley in Phoenix, and there's a bunch of other valleys all around the country. I thought this is a no-brainer. And there's brands operating on Valley Home Team, but they don't own the name. They own My Valley Home Team. They own the Valley Home Team. They own West Valley Home Team. All these people, I call them up. They don't want the name at all. For a couple $100, it makes no sense. They don't want the exact match to their existing brand that they're advertising on, right? So I found that to be pretty hard to deal with when I'm trying to talk to real estate agents. They just don't want to spend money on something that, to me, makes perfect sense, right? You're trying to advertise to people so you can sell homes. You think you'd want to have a personal brand that goes with you no matter what agency you change to, and you think you'd want something that's short, easy to remember, and authoritative, right? But the names that I picked up, I've been having a hard time selling. I did sell one, and that was outbound, and it's the Thomas team. There's a lot of Thomas teams around the country as well. The one person that I sold it to, I thought that she was balking because of price. So I finally brought it down to $100, but that wasn't it. She just thought I was trying to scam her. She really wanted the name, even though I told her you can go buy this at GoDaddy. She didn't believe me. Finally, she gets on the phone and says, I just tell you the truth, I don't trust you. I want this name, but I don't trust you. So I got her to buy it through GoDaddy and told her, GoDaddy's not going to scam you. Just go spend your money there. Don't even talk to me. So I got one sale out of the outbounds for the real estate. I do have a domain investor who wants to buy a couple of the names that I have, but he's waiting and said when he makes a sale, he buys. So he's waiting for a name to sell. So I know he's going to buy a couple of the names at wholesale, so it's not a ton of money. That triple net agent that I have is a great name, and that's the one that he wants, and he wants another one. It's real estate related. So I put that at a retail price. I think there's a lot of money in triple net commercial real estate, so I'm hoping that that'll sell to an end user. But then I pivoted away from real estate because I'm not making those sales. And so about the last 6 weeks or so, I changed to a different strategy where I'm just trying to get more of the names that I'm familiar with. So it's the same kind of thing that Mike's doing. So the types of names that I'm picking up now, let me share so everyone can see it. I made a big change. So you can see these are mainly real estate agent names. And I did pick actually HQE.io. That's getting a lot of traffic, a lot of exact match lookups. So I'm hoping that maybe I'll sell that. But then I started going to these. I thought Clinton Chamber would be easy because there's a ton of towns and counties and stuff named Clinton that have chambers of commerce that are using much longer names. It's another thing. Like, I don't know. I talked to Mike about it. He's like, yeah, they don't spend a lot of money. And I found that out. So then I just started to go to other names. So I picked up Tariff Tool. That sold pretty quickly after I bought it. You can see like 10 days later, it sold to an end user. I've got Brooklyn Heat. I think Brooklyn's a good brand. Anywhere in the world you go, you see Brooklyn, Brooklyn this, Brooklyn that. And then I picked up some personal names, and I'll go into that in a second. So I've got Waterfront Fund, Marketplace Mentor, Razor Funding, Vibe Process. I'm waiting for some of those to hit my account. They're taking a while. And then I got 2 personal names. I did some outbound on Greg Goldberg, and on Holly Farber just hit my account last night. So I'm going to try and do some outbound on that. But what I'm doing for the personal names is Good A on their auctions. Right now, they're doing a 50-50 split test, so you might see it or you might not. But on auctions that had exact match lookups for, somebody coming to GoDaddy or one of our properties and looking up that SLD and TLD, so the .com or the .net or whatever's on sale in the auction. So like Greg Goldberg and Polly Farber, it has a diamond next to the name on the auction, and that means that somebody came and looked that up. So I'm picking up these personal names because I know that there's people that are actually looking for their name and they want to buy it, right? Like they wanted to buy it in the last year, and I'm going to do some outbound and see if I sell it. I said I have somebody who might want to buy one of the names. It's that Greg Goldberg name. I did outbound to, I think, about a dozen people named Greg Goldberg over the weekend, and I got some replies back. So I'm hoping that that'll sell. I did learn too, that I think if I'm going to do wholesale pricing because I want to make sales, so I lowered a lot of my prices. And when I'm doing outbound, I'm going to make a sale. I think I'm going to charge, $200, $300, $400 for a name to an end user instead of $100, which is what I've been doing because I have 4 sales that 2 of them were end users, right? Like Tariff Tool went to an end user and the Thomas team went to an end user. Like I said, that wasn't about price. And Tariff Tool, I just put for $100 to try and quickly sell it, but I think it would have sold for more, to an end user anyway. I probably could have got $250, $300 for it, and they wouldn't have batted an eye. So I changed my pricing strategy on end users, and I changed the types of names that I'm going after. I did pick up, it looks like in August, I've got creativecapital.co. I really wish that was a com. I love Creative Capital. I think it's a great name. That one's getting a lot of, I think I got 11 lookups on GoDaddy, and I've got 9, so 11 total on 9 unique users. So that's pretty good. Right? And I have another capital name that's certicapital.com, and I got the same thing with Andrew, right? Like somebody came in, they offered $1,000 and then they disappeared. Those capital names, like Mike said, they're good. I expect that Creative Capital one will sell at some point, even though it's a great name and it's got some end use. I don't know if it'll sell within the contest time frame, but I think I can sell these, Razor Funding, Vibe Process. I think I could sell those off to investors because those will get some money at the end of the
I really like Razor Funding. I also like Waterfront Fund.
I was watching in the app both the Razor Funding and the creativecapital.co.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted Razor Funding for $1. It went above, and I think I would have gone up to like $6 on the Creative Capital because it was a .co, and it cost a little bit more for the registration renewal. So yeah, good for you for getting those.
I got Razor Funding. I think I paid, so those two, that Vibe Process and Razor Funding, I paid $30 each, but I used our coupon, our $20 coupon. I should know. I could have asked, but I figured maybe if it's $20, you get $20 off the total auction price, but you get it off one auction. So I got one basically for free plus the renewal.
Yeah.
And then I got the other one. So I just split that down the middle on my receipt. So that's why it's $16.69 each. So I did use that coupon to try and help me with an edge. So I think DDC Pro helps with that. If you don't know, you're getting $20 towards one auction, towards the bid price of an auction or the closeout price of an auction every month. As part of your DDC membership. So I'm taking full advantage of that to try and help me out in the contest. After Waterfront Fund hit my account, I got a little banner up there that says, hey, this is a hot domain. You should put this on auto renew because it just came in. I need to find out what that means. I don't know if it means that people look that up and want to buy it or if they just think it's worth money or what it is, but I'll find out. I thought that was a good sign when I picked that one up. So I've changed my strategy a lot and we'll see if it starts to work. I'm hoping that I could get a couple of these sold, for $100 to investors. And if I could do that, then that should put me over the $500 mark. And if I can get one of these personal names sold for a couple $100, then I should be close to Andrew. So that's my plan going forward.
And I think you could get that. I really like the real estate agent names that you have like Team Sonoma
Mhm.
and Hilton Head Agent, Redwood City Agent. I think that people are looking at agent names like that. And, I think Greg Goldberg, yeah, there's got to be a ton of them out there. And for
Mhm.
$249 that you have it listed for, seems like a no-brainer at a low retail level to get a quick sale. So I like what you're doing, both long-term and short-term with your portfolio.
Yeah, hopefully it'll work. I don't know. Too, we have all the agents for AI, so I'm hoping maybe like 3 Ns. An agent might be a good brandable, but we'll see. Maybe somebody will pull the trigger on it, maybe not. So far, though, I'm not doing very good. So we'll have to see if this new strategy works, turns around.
And listen, Joe, you are doing well better than me, right? And I like a couple of your non-IOs. That one word, especially Actor and Gilmore. They're beautiful names, the beautiful brands. I'm sure if you look at probably you'd see probably 50 or 100 GTL is registered under them. But they are niche, they are short, they are one word. I think they are, if you were to hold on to it, I think probably should go for $2,000 to $4,000. Even that's my belief.
Yeah, I think eventually some of those will sell. I got a lot of traffic on Ached, which I was really surprised about. I threw that in last just because we had a sale for .ios for new reg. So I just looked for those and tried to see if there was any one words.
Any pharmaceutical company.
So far, I like my portfolio, I think, over time. But, the contest is this year. We'll see what happens. I'm going to turn it over to James and see what he's been doing. He's right on my heels, only a few dollars off. Luckily, I got one sale that I made just a little bit more commission on. Otherwise, we'd be even. So, James, what's your strategy? Have you changed anything recently, or what's your plans for the next few months?
Yeah, one of mine came through front of site, which was annoying. So I got slightly higher commission versus doing it just through the custom checkout link. But, that's the reality of domain investing. Generally, you can kind of see the pattern that I've had through the spreadsheet tracker. A lot of it focuses on geos. In August, which was kind of the last time I was more active on this, I'll be honest, and I'll delve into that in a little bit. I started to switch over a little bit more towards Mike's vibe of things. I was looking for between 11 and 17 characters. I'd split it in expireddomains.net. You can split it right down so that you can specify the word length for each word in the domain. So I specified that the first word should be between 3 and 5, and then 5 and 8 for the second word. So that's how I narrowed things right down for those purchases. But I think they were all on the same day pretty much. Those three, they were just $5 closeouts. What I did was just put them into private Discord group. I think a couple of us are already in the Josh Reason one, which is a good one for newer domain investors. But they sold through those. I haven't used my social presence or anything like that. I'm trying to just use what a typical new domain investor might have at their disposal to do these things. And I think the names speak for themselves. If you find an undervalued one, then more experienced domain investors are going to pick those up. Some of my earlier ones have been on geos. I've had a little bit of outbounding, but no success with that. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that I'd be interested in feedback on this theory. But there's two schools of sales that you can have as a new investor. One is end users and one is investors. And I suppose that's for any level of domain investing, but particularly for new. The pros of finding end users, especially in the geo space, is higher retail sales price, lower acquisition fees for geo names because there's not as much of competition on those. The cons are there's a lot of hard work required to outbound. There's uphill educational battles with trying to convince someone the value of a name like that. And then the hit rate versus the hours spent is probably pretty high. And then on the flip side of that for investors, there's a potentially higher sell-through rate if you find the right names. Lower barrier to a sale because there's no educational investment there that you need to get over. Being early on trends can be valuable, but quite risky. But there's the cons of that. It's harder to find underpriced inventory because there's so many more eyes on it. There's the same eyes that you're trying to sell these to in many cases. But I think as Mike's proved, as we've all proved, is there's inventory that misses the filters of people higher up who don't necessarily want to go through all the lists and that kind of thing. There's something like 35,000 domains added to GoDaddy auctions every day. So there's always going to be some that if you look hard enough, you're going to find and be able to flip. The three that I mentioned, Vibe Studios, Raid Ventures, and then the only one that didn't sell was Nippy Finance. But yeah, those other two on there, they were pretty simple flips. I had no work involved in them, just posted the names and then that was kind of it. So going forward, I'm going to try and dedicate a little bit more time to some outbound motions. I do believe that the ones that I've got there do have value because of what I've understood about the name. So it's a wider geographical area. It's teamed with professions that are very competitive or may need to stand out online. So I believe I've got a good foundation there. It's just about connecting with the right people on there. Then I'll also talk about AI. I feel like we'll touch on AI at some point later on, but there's a lot of stuff that we can do with AI, with automation, which I'm understanding could have a role in this. So I can talk about that a little bit later on if it's interesting enough. So yeah, that's kind of my recap, kind of where I'm at. I'd be curious about your thoughts on that theory.
I think it's good. I'd like to hear more about the AI. I used Perplexity before I bought that Greg name, the personal name, and I asked it to scour the web and find out who's using their name professionally. So, like who's a professional that's using it. I found a bunch of stuff that I might not have found. That's how I knew that there was at least a dozen that are using their name like as their business or part of their business. And then I asked for information about it so that I could personalize the emails, and it helped me to personalize the emails to each person to target. I think that was a huge time saver because outbound does take a long time. So I know that using the tools, I've been playing around with the tools to try and find names, and I've been getting better with that. So I'd like to hear if anybody has any different ones that they've been using to help them find names or narrow down lists of names. That would be interesting to know. It's open to anybody if you've been using AI. I've been trying to share what I do I have a playlist Friday with AI, and we try and put out a list or a video every week of what I'm doing with AI to help domain investors.
Using AI at all for any of this. I just go into my saved filters in expired domains every single day and just run through those. I haven't found a good prompt that I know that AI has reasoning models now, but I don't think that it does a very good job from my perspective at reasoning through why a domain name is good. It just tends to be too just about like, oh, great idea, or that's a great one, whatever. It doesn't strike me as having the requisite knowledge about business to evaluate whether a business would want to use it as their brand. So I haven't used it at all.
I think I've shared some on here.
Good.
There are some purpose-built AI kind of domain search things like AI Domain Genius that I think are pretty good. One of GoDaddy's competitors has a GPT within OpenAI that's actually pretty good, where you could say like, suggest a marketing term plus this word, and then it actually goes and checks its availability, which is pretty good too.
GoDaddy has that as well, just to point it out.
Oh, really? Okay.
There's a new MCP out there that you might want to play around with.
All right. I found a lot of names to hand register through that approach. And I've actually sold some hand registrations that were from 2 or 3 years ago when I started using those tools through that.
In your personal profile, right?
Right. Not as part as
I remember you
contest.
talking about that on the
The way that I was looking at it was more about
Many a time,
like
I'm saying many a times when you use these automated tools or chat GPT or something and you give those prompts, somehow I always find that the prompt gives you an answer which is something which you are looking at, but not the exact rational answer. It's more to do with exactly what you're trying to seek an answer. It's more related towards that and not a rational answer, which would be ideal situation if you're running a business scenario.
Yeah, totally agree. I think that the way that I look at AI is analyzing my workflow and seeing how AI can speed that up. Because if I'm on my laptop, if I'm doing that, then I'm doing work. So I need a way of consistently speeding up my workflow because consistency is the key, and I don't have that at the moment. The first thing I did was I just created a Python script to go to, so it's manual where I have to go to inventory.auctions.godaddy.com, which is a huge list of all of the daily names that are available from GoDaddy Auctions that you can download in an XML file. What I do is just load it through that script, and then it would pass out the names that I'm looking for, and then I'd be able to manually look for those. So it's sped up because I'm not a developer, but I was able just to produce something pretty quick like that. The next thing I'm trying to do, I don't know whether anyone else has played around with N8N, but I love it. I use it a lot for a lot of different things, but I'm trying to work out, so N8N is like an automation workflow app, and it has AI integrations that you can put into it. So I'm working out a way of every day scheduling that Python script to do the work instead of me, find the names, email them to me, and then I can kind of go through them from there just to create some consistency, because I know that if I have friction in my workflow, then I'm going to be distracted by other things work and my family life. So that's the way that I'm trying to view AI. And I think maybe that's useful for some other domain investors of not just using it as a prompt and saying, hey, is this good? Because like Deepak says, it's going to feed back what you put into it really, but as a tool to unlock faster workflows. And then, that unlocks a lot of other time that you may be able to use to research or do other bits and pieces. So yeah, that's the way that I'm looking at it. Hopefully by the time we next meet, I might have something to walk you through on NA10 just to kind of see what I'm doing there.
That'd be awesome.
I think Mike and me are the AI for our own business of domains.
That's fair.
Well, I set up a expired domain names filter that I named Be Like Mike. So
What's in there?
the stuff like I just picked up, I tried 2-word, like names that I know I can flip to other investors. So I just try to set my filter up like that. But I do like, as far as AI goes, Deepak's right in that it seems like it just echoes like an echo chamber if you don't set it up right, where it'll just come back and say, yeah, these are all great. So I do like Perplexity because to do a final check, because it'll give all the references automatically. And then you can go click those links and find out why it's saying what it is. And you could quickly determine, is this fake or, is this really like an end user that would want to buy this name or whatever. But I set up a lot of guardrails in my prompts on what type exactly I'm looking for. It's almost like an expired domain.net filter that I put in there, like I want only com and I want only 2 words and I want you to, be dictionary words and whatever I'm going to tell it, so that when it comes back, it kind of is going off what I'm going to look for anyway, and then, try and rank those. So I think it still has some way to go. I think it would be interesting, like what James is doing to try and automate things. And I think that's a real way to narrow down names and help find other names that people aren't looking for. But I think that's definitely interesting. I tried Grok a couple of times. I have 2 different paid accounts for it, just randomly. And what I've been trying to do and I haven't been successful yet at none of the models that I tried, is try and figure out the trends by reverse engineering what people are posting that they sell, because people post that they sold names. So if you could start to see that there's different keywords that are selling more frequently, then maybe there's a trend that's starting to emerge, because you're starting to aggregate all this data from all the places that people are selling. It hasn't worked yet. I try to have it go like to DN Journal and to, look at all the different handles that people post on, everybody tags Afternic, right? But a lot of those things, they'll either blank it out or it's a picture and they can't read it. The models are getting better at it, but it's not quite there yet. So I've been playing around with that and I haven't hit that yet, but I think that those kind of unique use cases would be interesting once it starts to get better. If you try and think outside the box of how could you get ahead of a trend, or how could you figure out what, like people are doing. You could see, I think, and I haven't played around with this yet, so this is just free, but there's the handle and I forget what it is. So I should give them credit, but I don't remember. But there's one that everybody, I'm pretty sure, follows, where it shows where new startups get funded, right? And what their name is, what their domain name is.
Raising.fi.
Yes, that's the one.
So I think things like that would be really interesting to reverse engineer through Grok and see what companies are getting funded in aggregate. Is there a change in the market? Because those are going to be the buyers. So I'm not saying to target whoever just got funded and has a name, but just in general, what segments, what verticals of the market are.
They have a premium model there that you can sign up for that I tried for a month, where it shows you trends, including which prefixes and suffixes companies are choosing.
I have to check that out.
So I have a quick live update. It's not a sale. Joe, you mentioned the hidden gems earlier, and I went in while we were doing this. I went into the hidden gems, found it. So this is one that someone searched for on GoDaddy in the past year. These are all the names that someone searched for in the past year. I placed a $1 bid with 15 minutes to go to see how it worked out, and I got the name, and it's a 6-letter brandable. So, I like names that are consonant vowel, consonant vowel, consonant vowel. So it's Nuvodi, NUVODI.com. So very much a brandable, right? It's not, and I got it for $1. So
that's your first dollar buy.
So going back to what Joe had said earlier, it can happen. I placed the bid with 15 minutes to go. So I was concerned because, as Deepak mentioned, that, as soon as you do that, it gets attention. There's some people with bots, but I got the name.
I think that's unfair because, as we discussed, I'm not in the 50% of the group that has access to those hidden gems. So I don't know. This is going to be an asterisk next to this one when you sell it.
And listen, either we are on the podcast or not, the app must go on the go. That it's constantly there for me. I do not want to miss out because what's dropping when, right?
Yeah.
I picked up something literally for $5 and I flipped it for 4 figures. Literally, we shared it outside of this. If you look at my data, I haven't sold anything for this podcast. But if I look at my year data in last 6 months, I did really good. I sold 4 handbridge, and they are not .coms. None of them are. So I don't know if the trend has changed or not. And it is not mediocre sale. I think they are good 5 figures, right? And they're all handbridge. I was surprised. I never sold any handbridge for the kind of money in the shortest period of time, but 3 of them are .ai. And one of them is literally, like I discussed before, they process .digital. I picked it up from expired domains for $5, right? So don't look at my data, guys. If you are investing into this game, carry on. It is one of the most beautiful game, and you can flip it from $5 to $5,000.
So if you're selling non.coms, Piyush, why are you buying only .coms and .net during this competition? Why didn't you go with what's working for you?
So me being naive, as soon as I got my $500, I invested 2 or 3 days and just I belong to 90% of the group, by the way. I would just pick up anything and everything. It makes sense. As long as it makes sense to me, and there are lots of GTLDs, and I would look at, okay, if there are any other extension has been taken, so I would pick up those names and just put it and parked it there. Like Andrew says, I never sold anything previously within a year. Right. I'm an investor. I do not like to quickly just flip it. I would just wait until I get the right buyer. And that's what I did. Got excited. This is the first time. I'm not like pro like you guys are. So that $500 I just picked up, and I said, like, they're beautiful brandable names, and I just put it there, and then that's it. But I realized that I had an opportunity to buy a couple of .AIs, but it was too expensive for $500 bet. So I did not do that. But after April, May, and June, I picked up lots of .AI, literally hand-wedged, right? I had a good success on .AI. So that's my excuse and explanation for it.
And successful investors are in the market for a long period of time. So you going in and buying your domain names and then waiting for a year and hoping, like we all are, hoping that 1 to 2% are going to sell is going to take time. So you're maximizing the time that you have.
Correct.
Deepak, I see you've bought a decent amount of names, I'd say, as far as your spend overall in the last month. So do you want to go into that? What you picked and why?
Question is for Joe.
For you.
Oh, so I haven't been having success picking up .coms. Somebody else comes and always bids. Maybe it's bad luck, or maybe I'm going for the fruits which is hanging higher up because I use .db a lot. So I changed the strategy a bit. And if you see, the last 5 names which I've bought are in alternate extensions. But if you go into .db, all of them are almost between 25 and 35 extensions taken. And there are a lot of websites which are either on the .com, but with a lot of other keywords, or they have a lot of other lesser known extensions. And I have sold, for example, exceed.org. So if you see that, there's a site, exceedhealth.com, and then there are a couple of other websites with the same keyword. If you go to there, there are plenty of sites with other extensions and added keywords. I've had success with those kind of names, and health is a segment where a lot of companies prefer the .org extension apart from the .com. So that's the new strategy I'm trying. These names I've sold regularly for 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 up to 4,500. So I'm trying to sell them for anything from 1,000 to 1,500. Hopefully, I haven't had the time to do outbound, but I plan to do it in the holiday season, and then should be able to sell a couple of them in at least the $9.99 range.
Deepak, last time that we talked, you said you had an offer on bisi.io, and if it didn't sell retail, or you were going to think about it, and then you were going to take that money from that other.
I'm still very hopeful on that as a brand. We still have a few months left. So if nothing happens, then I will sell it for whatever the gentleman told me that he's willing to give it for. But I'm still hopeful. See, that's I think a good one. I've done a bit of research on that, and I just don't want to let it go for low 4 figures, because you never know. Somebody buys that buy now, and it happens a lot. Many sales have happened wherein it's an impulse buy. So I'm just holding on to that. Maybe something will come through, luck will turn.
Well, you've only spent $213 so far, and you've cleared after commissions 185. So you're pretty close to break even.
Yes.
You've gunpowder.
I need to buy more. And now that you and Andrew and Joe have shown the light today that there is still hope to buy $1, so I'm going to get cracking at them from tomorrow. But yeah, that's my strategy. think I should be at least able to sell 4 out of them and easily sell them for 999, because I have sold names like that in the past a lot, where there are a lot of other companies which are although on the .com but a much longer version, or on the .net, other extensions, and they really like the one word extension, the one word keyword, and they pick it up, maybe not as their main website, but as something to protect, and hopefully I should be able to sell them.
I've been trying to look at single words in the expired domains filters for GoDaddy, either expired or going to auction or what have you. I thought today I was going to get gain, GAIN.bet. I will look at all the extensions and see if it makes sense. And I know some of my friends have been having some good luck with .bet. Unfortunately, that one sold for
$1,200.
So yeah, that was not one that I'm going to pick up for the contest.
Back on that, you got 45 minutes from .bet. I'm keeping my eye on it. I just created a competition here by clicking that. Probably you guys are looking at it, but I'm looking at closely with that one on .bet.
Oh, right now.
It's still not bad, right?
No, it's not going to sell for that. And I don't have enough budget to buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
But I'm
afford.
buying more names and print the list and do what Andrew did at the IC conference.
Yeah, CA. I want to see you do it.
There
CA,
you
that
go.
Next month
I'll
in
be
Vegas.
shoving Deepak to the side. No, you don't want to buy his names. Buy my names.
And then can you either just get a list inside your suit jacket like you're selling bad watches in Vegas.
There were
Your
like
name.
that back in the day. Put it on a
Oh,
T-shirt.
That might work. So I think the strategies most people have should work. We decided before the podcast started recording, we're going to give Piyush another $100 to let him try some different strategies, maybe see if he can buy some names and flip them so that he can make some money in the short term. So we're going to do that. However, just, to be clear, if he does wind up winning with a big sale and he's close, we're subtracting that $100 from his total. So it's without strings.
I would just add on to something. I'm pitching an idea on drugprofile.com to a couple of pharmaceutical companies. I was just pitching them domain name. Instead, I came up with a prototype of what should it be used for, based on the company that does £6 million, which is probably $9 million profit per annum, just combining all the international drugs into one portfolio. And they're just reaching out to pharmaceutical companies and they link their manufacturing and licensing under that, and we can create the competition for them. So I've been talking to a couple of companies and I said, look, if you want to do 50-50 or you want to take the name out of my hand for $20,000, this is what I've been pitching just on one name. Mm-hmm. And another name that I have in the portfolio is viewmarine.com. 3 times I attempted to, the company that's based in Japan, they are using .co.jp, but they don't want to pay. They want the name, but they don't want to pay the premium. So I went for $2,500 first. And then I said, okay, fine. And then I sent them email, like, if you really want this, I'd do it for $1,500, but they just did not reply. So that is the hard part of this game, right? Yeah. But I love my names, the names I have picked up, right? So if I haven't sold anything, it does not mean that this game is not. I mean, I belong to 90% of the community. I think when we were doing some tweets on X, one of the guys says Piyush belong to 99% of us. And I like that idea. Actually, I do, right? Outbound is hard. I don't do wholesale prices. I have never done it. So don't hold me for it. I'm not an expert into that. Having said that, I do spend at least 3 hours a day going through GoDaddy expiry. And that's what I invest into, 3 hours a day. I do not miss that. I always keep one app that runs constantly on my mobile, and I kept the mobile separate for that. That is auction. You miss that minute, you're missing that $1,000 opportunity or $10,000, which is $100,000 opportunity. It's in the name, right? The game is in the name. That's your identity, that's your brand. But that's me.
Yeah. And we were talking about this on the Domain Academy webinar that Andrew mentioned earlier, that Joe ran earlier this week. I will use expired domains to find the domains, narrow down. And then when I like a domain, I'll click on it, which takes me to GoDaddy auctions, and then I'll click add to my watch list. So then I can get notified by the app on my phone for the last 15 minutes before the end of it. It'll vibrate and tell me, hey, don't forget about this. And then, of course, like you guys, I've got the app running 24 hours a day, so I can just quickly go to what I'm watching to see what I should be looking at.
Yeah.
So that's one of the processes that I've sort of gotten better at during this competition.
And also, I'm just waiting. At the end of the last month, I outsell something for $10,000-$15,000, and I take the trophy out of
That's
the
right.
and I look for retail investors. I look for end users. I do not understand how quickly to flip it for a few $100s.
Well, let's see if anybody has any final words. We'll go around real quick before we wrap this up. I think it's been a great episode. We'll circle back again sooner rather than later and check in with everybody. Deepak said he's going to make some sales over the holidays on outbound, so I'm going to hold him to that. We'll see what Piyush picks up. His extra $100 I'll send over to him, and we'll see if anybody gets any deals closed that we've been waiting for before the end of the year. I'll turn it over, Mike. Any last words?
Being out there in the community with a real face and name, I think, is helpful. It's helpful to people when they're buying domains from you because then they can trust you. And in one case, it was helpful to me because an acquaintance on X reached out and suggested that he wanted to liquidate some domain names. And he sent me like 5 or 10 of them. And I saw instashots.com on there that I picked up for $260 with the renewal and everything from him via GoDaddy, and then sold it for $399 via my Cyger Says newsletter. Being available, chatting with people, creating connections, expanding your network can have benefits to you. So that's what I will say. And I'm looking forward to attending the ICAdomains.com. Actually, it's internetcommerce.org event, which is going to be in Vegas next month, where I'll see a majority of you on this podcast there. Love being able to interact in person, see people, get to know them, catch up with them on a personal basis. And I will say, things get said in person that will never be said over text message, in a Discord channel, over email, in a podcast. I haven't released all the good tips that I have because you guys are all my competitors. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, if you have the ability to join the ICA and attend an in-person event, and I know a lot of people can't do that because they have day jobs, but if you do have that ability, I highly recommend it. It can make a big difference in your life and your profession.
This is something I have started recently. The first time ever I have attended something, that was in London Domain Summit, and I've met some fantastic people. I stayed away from it. I come from pharmaceutical and I do not miss any events in there. But then I realized that, look, if I'm a serious investor into the domain, I think I had to put the face to it, and the real one, not just the podcast or anything. Go meet the people, just sit down with them, create the networking, and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
It's a small industry.
Huge one?
No, I haven't looked into it.
I was there.
Did
The
you?
coolest,
Wow.
they make good points about in-person conferences. I remember
Yeah.
my first one
Yeah.
was 2019 in Names Gone in Vegas. And I think one of the first people I met was Mike. And I think that to me was one of the catalysts of unlocking some additional opportunities. And I did closer work with Mike and then a few others after that. So yeah, in-person conferences can really change things around.
On the back
I'm
of
gonna
this
put on this
list,
time.
Let's do it.
Who takes the longest number of flies?
I know every time I see you in Vegas, Deepak, I
That's right.
bow down to you because, yeah, that is quite a commitment. I commend you for that.
Yeah.
All right.
So I guess I'm next. So we'll keep the ball rolling because we've been chatting for a
right,
while. And I'm going to sell something within the next 5 weeks for sure. Keep a close eye on the spreadsheet. That's what I got.
I manifested that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's put it out there.
And then I think Joe is next.
Yeah, I want to just say that James and I are not only close in the contest spreadsheet, but I also have the same glasses as James. So,
I promise
think,
they're not GoDaddy, like GoDaddy brand. You have to wear them if you work for GoDaddy.
I should have put them on before.
That
They're
makes
sitting
3
next
of
to me.
us.
Oh my God, the same glass.
Ready to
That's it.
go.
That's it.
Love it.
So I think I said my strategy already. We'll see if it works. I'm going to turn it over to Deepak for any final words.
I think this is a beautiful business to be in, and my only advice is that if you're there every single day, you might have a dry period for a month or two, and then it just starts pouring in. But it's the hard work and the consistency which gets you through. So that's been my vision. I've been doing it for almost like 15 years. I still go through expired domains, as Mike said, every single day, make my list, go through the bidding process, win names, add them everywhere. But it's the consistency which matters in the long run. So I think it's just a matter of time, and you start having success if you do the same thing over and over again.
That's a great point for us to end on. I think you just show up, you do the work, and that's how you get lucky, right? You just go every day and continue to be consistent. So thanks for joining us. And like I said, we'll be back sooner rather than later, and we'll catch up on what we've done.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks.